Hey guys! You hear my voice gently slip into the quiet of your room, like someone easing open a door without turning on the lights. Hey guys, welcome back to Mindtales Sleep Stories. The words land softly, as if they've taken their shoes off in the hallway. This is your space to unwind, to let your brain finally stop auditioning every thought for the most important thought of the day award, and to just breathe. This story tonight is called The River That Carried Yesterday Away. It's a calm, psychological, modern fairy tale about a traveler, which is also secretly about you. It's about memories, about tiredness that's not just in your muscles, but in your heart, and about that quiet, gentle courage it takes to move forward, even when you're not entirely sure what that means yet. But for now, you actually don't need to do anything properly. There is no test later, no quiz, no productivity goal. This is probably the one part of your day where doing nothing is the assignment, and you're already doing it perfectly just by being here. You can like, subscribe, or comment, but only if you really feel like it. No pressure, no obligation. Let this be one of the few things in your life that doesn't come with a to-do list attached. If your brain tries to turn this into a task, we're just going to gently smile at it and say, "Not tonight." Take a moment to adjust your space. If you can, dim the lights down or switch them off completely. Let the room fall into that soft, cozy darkness where edges blur and everything feels a little kinder. Maybe pull your blanket up around your shoulders, or nestle your head a bit deeper into your pillow. Notice how your body wants to arrange itself when it realizes nobody needs anything from you right now. If you feel comfortable, let your eyes close. You're not going to miss anything visually. This story is designed to play out on the inside of your mind, like a quiet, private cinema, where you always get the best seat and nobody rustles snack wrappers too loudly. Take a slow breath in through your nose and let it out gently through your mouth. No need to exaggerate it, just enough to feel the difference between holding everything together and letting things loosen. As you listen, you may find your thoughts wandering to your day, to small worries, to random grocery lists your brain thinks are urgent at 11:30 p.m. If that happens, that's completely okay. Thoughts wandering is literally what thoughts do. Whenever you notice that drift, you don't have to push anything away. Just imagine that all those thoughts are little leaves floating on the surface of a very calm river. You can see them, but you don't have to pick them up. You can just let them drift past. This story is going to take you to a place where memories have weight. Not metaphorically, but quite literally. Where feelings can be rinsed, softened, and sometimes released. You'll meet a river that doesn't roar with danger, but whispers with understanding. A river that doesn't erase who you are, but offers to lighten what you carry. Along the way, you'll explore which memories are worth keeping, even when they hurt a little, and which burdens you might be ready, or almost ready, to let go of. The story won't ask you to make any big decisions. It will simply open gentle doors inside your mind, and you can walk through them only as far as feels right. For now, just let yourself sink into the sound of my voice. Feel the bed holding your weight, quietly loyal. Notice any places in your body that are tense. Your shoulders, your jaw, your hands. And imagine that with every exhale, they let go just a little more. Like a backpack strap that's finally loosened after a long day. You are safe here. Nothing is required. You don't need to follow every sentence perfectly. If you drift in and out, that's not a problem. That's actually the point. The story will keep going, like a river flowing beside you, even if you float off into sleep. And so, with your body growing heavier and your mind becoming softer around the edges, we begin. You find yourself as a traveler, walking along a quiet road at the end of a very long day. And the story opens gently, like a twilight sky. You are walking alone along a narrow path that looks like it has been used by many feet before yours. It's evening, not the dramatic kind with neon sunsets and Instagram colors, but the quietly honest kind. The sky is washed in pale blue and soft gray, as if the day has been carefully folded away and placed on a shelf. Your feet are tired in that deep, convincing way that makes each step feel slightly negotiable. You carry a pack on your back, and even though this is a story, your brain insists that the pack feels exactly like your real life, full of things you might need, things you can't just get rid of, and things you meant to sort through 2 emotional seasons ago. With every step, the straps dig a little into your shoulders. It's not unbearable, it's just constant. That low-level weight you've gotten used to, the way people get used to a hum in the background and only notice it when it suddenly stops. The path winds between gentle hills. Long grass brushes your ankles, whispering against your clothes. The air is cool but not cold, carrying the faintest scent of damp earth and distant rain. Somewhere, far away, a bird calls once, and then decides it has said enough for the day. You don't know exactly where you're heading. You just know that you couldn't stay where you were. There's a feeling in your chest that you might call restlessness, or maybe exhaustion, or maybe that quiet sigh that happens when your soul has been politely hinting that something needs to change, and you've been politely ignoring it. As you walk, your thoughts drift back over your life, not as a neat timeline, but as little flashes. A tense conversation you replay too often. A moment of embarrassment that pops up in your brain like an annoying ad. The face of someone you miss, blended with the echo of words you wish you'd said differently, or sooner, or not at all. Each memory has a little weight to it, and as they surface, your pack seems to grow just a bit heavier. It's as if every uncried tear, every swallowed frustration, every "I'm fine" you didn't fully mean, has crystallized into something you've been carrying for years. At some point, without really deciding to, you stop walking. The path has brought you to the top of a gentle rise. Ahead, the land opens out into a wide, quiet valley, wrapped in the deepening blue of evening. At the far end of the valley, something glimmers, not like a city, not like electric light, but like moving silver. You feel drawn to it in that strange, effortless way. You're drawn to water when you're thirsty, or to your bed when you're exhausted, or to your phone when you definitely shouldn't check it again, but somehow do. Only this time, it's a gentler pull. You walk down the slope, and as you come closer, you see that the glimmer is a river. It isn't a dramatic, raging river. There are no cliffs, no terrifying currents. Instead, it moves with the calm confidence of something that knows exactly where it's going. The surface shimmers in soft, muted colors, grays, silvers, hints of lavender and deep blue, reflecting the sky that's slowly letting go of the day. The sound of the water reaches you first, a low, continuous murmur, like someone speaking in another room with their voice tuned permanently to comforting. It's not loud, but it fills the space, smoothing the edges of your thoughts. You come to the edge of the riverbank. The ground is soft here, packed earth and small pebbles. You set your pack down, and the sensation is almost shocking. Without the weight, your back feels strangely light, almost unfamiliar. You roll your shoulders, and something quietly cracks. In a good way. You kneel at the water's edge and lean forward. The river is clear, but not in the usual way. It's not just that you can see the smooth stones beneath the surface. It's that you can see feelings there. As if the memories and emotions of countless travelers have passed through this water, and the river has learned to glow with their colors. You see a flash of soft gold, the warmth of a summer afternoon, a streak of deep blue, a sadness that was finally allowed to be fully felt, pale pink, an old kindness remembered, a smoky gray, regret diffused and made bearable. The colors swirl and blend, never staying still, never clinging. As you stare, you become aware of a presence beside you, not startling, not sudden, just noticed, the way you suddenly realize you can smell coffee in a room you've just walked into. You glance to the side and see an old woman sitting on a smooth rock, not far from you. She must have been there the whole time, or maybe the river is the kind of place where people appear, exactly when you're ready to see them. She wears simple clothing, layered and practical, in muted colors that look like they've been washed by the river many times. Her hair is a cloud of soft gray, tied back loosely, and her eyes have the exact same shimmer as the water, calm, kind, and quietly amused, as if she has seen every version of human mess and is not particularly shocked by any of it. "You walked a long way," she says, her voice low and steady. "Your shoulders told me before your feet did." You blink, slightly embarrassed, as if your posture has just exposed your soul. "It's been a heavy few years," you say, or think, or somehow communicate. In this place, words and thoughts seem to blend together. She nods, as if that confirms something she already knew. "They usually are," she replies. "That's why they find their way here." You look back at the river. "What is this place?" you ask. And why does it feel like it's looking back at me? The old woman smiles, a small, knowing curve of her lips. "This," she says, "is the river that carries yesterday away. It doesn't erase who you are. It doesn't delete your past. But it can wash the weight off your memories, one emotion at a time." The water swirls gently at the edge of the bank, as if nodding in agreement. You feel a faint tingling at your fingertips, like anticipation. You swallow. "And what happens if I step in?" She tilts her head. "That depends," she says softly, "on what you're ready to let go of, and what you're not." The river's murmur deepens, inviting, patient. Somewhere inside, a part of you that has been tired for such a very long time sits up and listens. You sit back on your heels, feeling the soft earth give slightly under your weight, as if the ground itself is willing to cushion you a little. The pack lies beside you, mute and heavy, like an old friend who overstayed their welcome, but still insists on coming to every event. "The river can wash away memories," you ask, glancing from the water to the woman and back. The idea feels both impossible and suspiciously appealing, like a clear all notifications button for your soul. She shakes her head gently. "Not memories," she corrects you. "It can wash away the weight of them. The sharp edges, the heaviness, the way they pull on you every time you move. The things you carry don't disappear. They just change, become lighter, less sticky." You watch the water slip past. Each ripple seems to hold a hint of something familiar. A laugh, a sigh, an apology that was never spoken but needed. "How does it choose?" you ask quietly. "What it washes away and what it leaves?" She leans forward slightly, placing her elbows on her knees, fingers loosely interlaced. "It doesn't choose," she says. "You do. The river listens. It reflects. It helps. But it doesn't decide who you are. That's the one thing it refuses to take from anyone. There's something comforting in that. You feel a small tension loosen inside your chest, like a knot being carefully teased apart. So, how does it work? She gestures toward your pack. Everything you've tucked away there, she says, is attached to something. A moment, a memory, a feeling you weren't ready to process at the time. Sometimes people throw everything in there, like shoving clutter into a closet before guests arrive. It works, until the door won't close anymore. You think of all the times you've smiled and said, "It's fine," when it wasn't. All the times you took the heavier end of the emotional furniture, because it seemed easier than asking for help. All the moments you decided you'd deal with this later, and later never showed up on your calendar. The river, she continues, lets you take one piece at a time. One emotion, one memory, one small weight. You offer it to the water, and the river softens it. Sometimes it washes away the sting. Sometimes it just makes it easier to carry. Sometimes it shows you that you never needed to carry it in the first place. You frown slightly. But how do I know what to let go of? She smiles, that amused kindness in her eyes again. Ah, she says, that's the question everybody asks. The short answer is, you don't have to know yet. You start by noticing what hurts when you think about it. The things your mind circles around at night when you're trying to sleep. The scenes that still make your stomach twist or your jaw clench. Those are usually good candidates. You look down at your hands, resting loosely on your knees. You can feel the memories hovering at the edges of your awareness, like guests in the next room, waiting for you to decide whether to invite them in or pretend not to be home. It's okay, she says softly. We move slowly here. This river isn't in a hurry. It has far too much dignity to rush anyone. You huff out a quiet breath that's almost a laugh. Nice to meet something in my life that isn't in a rush, you murmur. She nods. Exactly. Here, if you want, you can simply sit and listen. Let the river speak first. So you do. You shift until you're comfortable, tucking your legs to the side, resting your hands on the ground. The earth is cool under your fingers, textured with tiny bits of stone and root. The river's murmur fills your ears. Not loud, not demanding, just a constant gentle sound that somehow makes the space inside your head feel wider. As you listen, you begin to notice patterns in the water's voice. At first, it's just a soothing, random sound, like white noise. But slowly, your mind starts to hear something like words. Not in any language you know, but in feelings. You hear the river say things like, "It's okay that you couldn't fix everything," and "You did the best you could with what you knew," and "Some goodbyes were never really your choice." The phrases aren't literal, but they land in your chest with the gentle weight of truth. Your shoulders drop a little more. Your breathing slows without you telling it to. You glance at your pack. It sits there, stubborn and solid. "If I start," you say quietly, almost to yourself, "what if I let go of something I still need?" The old woman nods thoughtfully, as if you've just asked a very reasonable question about how to use a complicated appliance. "Then the river will show you," she says. "Sometimes people offer something, and the water pushes it gently back toward them. Like, 'Not this one. Not yet.' You're not going to accidentally delete an important part of your soul. This isn't a badly designed app. It's older than your worries and wiser than your fear." You let out another small breath. The idea that you can't do this wrong is strangely disarming. You've spent so much of your life trying not to mess things up, trying to make the right choices, that the notion of a process that forgives clumsiness feels almost suspicious. "And if I don't want to let go of something?" you ask. She smiles. "Then you don't," she says simply. "Some people come here just to sit and listen. That's all they're ready for, and that's enough. Healing isn't an exam. Nobody's grading you." You feel a flicker of relief, mixed with curiosity. The river continues to glide past, never repeating the same pattern of ripples twice, yet somehow always the same. You reach for your pack and pull it closer, resting it between your knees. The fabric is worn, the seams stretched. You run your fingers along the zipper, feeling the resistance where it's straining against all it holds. "Maybe just one thing," you murmur. The old woman doesn't lean in or look overly interested. She just sits, present but not intrusive, like a friend who knows how to offer company without commentary. You open the pack. Inside, instead of clothes or tools or ordinary objects, you see memories. Some are small and pale, like faded photographs. Some are bright and sharp, glowing with intensity. Others sit in the corners like dust bunnies of emotion, made of tiny, accumulated worries that never quite got cleaned up. You carefully reach in and pull out the first thing your hand touches. A memory that rises like a bubble in water, coming to the surface the moment it's touched. It's a moment from your past. You recognize it instantly. Something that still makes your chest tighten when you think about it. A conversation where you felt misunderstood. A decision where you felt alone. A moment where you tried so hard to be okay that you ended up exhausted for days afterward. You hold it in your hands, feeling the familiar rush of emotion, a blend of sadness, frustration, and something like self-blame that you never really examined too closely. The river's murmur seems to hush slightly, as if it's paying attention. You look at the old woman. She nods once, slowly. "When you're ready," she says softly, "you can offer it to the water, not to erase it, just to loosen its grip." You look down at the memory again, the emotions swirling around it like smoke. And with the river's gentle song in your ears, you begin to wonder, for the first time in a long while, what it might feel like to remember this moment without it hurting quite so much. You hold the memory in your hands for a long, quiet moment, the way someone might hold a fragile object they aren't sure is safe to put down yet. The emotions clinging to it swirl in faint colors, soft grays, muted blues, a touch of weary red. Somehow, it feels both heavier and lighter when you finally let yourself look at it directly. You realize you've avoided this memory for a long time, not by forgetting, but by skimming past it the way someone flips past a page with a painful photo. You didn't want to relive it. You didn't want to examine it. You just tucked it away and hoped it wouldn't rattle around too loudly in the dark. Now, with the river humming softly beside you, there's a strange sense of permission. As if the environment itself understands that humans don't always know what to do with their own hearts. You glance at the old woman again. She doesn't speak. She doesn't nudge. She simply sits in calm companionship, as steady as the stones under the water. Her presence doesn't push you toward action. It simply reminds you, you're not doing this alone. You inhale, letting the cool evening air fill your lungs. It smells faintly of water and distant pine, a scent that somehow makes your chest feel less tight. As you exhale, your grip on the memory loosens, not in a letting go way, but in a not strangling it for once way. You lean forward just slightly, holding the memory above the water. The colors inside it flicker, shifting like light through a prism. It's not clear whether that's because you're closer to the river or because the memory is responding to your willingness to face it. The river's surface ripples gently beneath your hands, leaning in, but not reaching. The water never assumes. It waits with ancient patience, like someone holding open a door without insisting you walk through it. For a moment, doubt rises in your chest. What if I'm not ready? What if letting this go changes me too much? What if this memory is still important, even if it hurts? The river murmurs softly, and you hear, not in words but in feeling. It's okay. You don't have to let go. You can simply show it to the light. You pause, surprised. Somehow, the river knows the fear hidden beneath your hesitation. Not the obvious fear of pain, but the quieter fear that if you ease the weight of this memory, you might forget who you were at that time. That easing the pain might feel like invalidating the struggle. That softening the edges might feel like you're saying, the hurt didn't matter. But the water's voice returns, warm and patient. Softening isn't forgetting. Healing isn't dismissal. Your chest loosens a little. You ease the memory closer to the surface. The moment it touches the water, a soft glow pulses outward, not bright or dramatic, just a gentle shimmer, like someone dipping a lantern into a lake. The memory floats just barely on the surface, held there by the river, as if the water knows exactly how much weight it can carry. The emotions surrounding the memory begin to unfurl, like knots loosening in slow motion. The red becomes softer, the blue becomes lighter, the gray becomes more translucent. It's as if the river is patiently rinsing the memory, not erasing it, but tenderly washing away the harshness that had stuck to it. You feel something shift in your chest, a warmth, a breath, a relief that doesn't announce itself loudly, but spreads quietly through your ribs. The old woman speaks finally, her voice low and steady. "Good," she murmurs. "You're letting yourself see it without bracing for impact." You watch the memory hover on the water. The emotions swirl, mixing with the river's glow. For the first time, you can look at this moment from your past without your stomach tightening, without the old ache gripping you. It's still there, but gentler, more honest, less sharp. After a while, the river nudges the memory back toward you. You blink. "I thought it would take it," you say quietly. The woman shakes her head. "Not this one," she says. "Not yet. You needed to soften it first, to see it as it is, not as your fear made it." The memory rests in your palms again, but now it feels lighter. Not weightless, but bearable. Like something you can hold without hurting yourself. You tuck it gently back into the pack, and something inside you whispers, "Maybe I can do this." The river hums approvingly. You reach into the pack again. This time, something brighter rises to your hand, a memory that doesn't hurt, but feels complicated, a mix of joy and longing, a moment you loved but which feels tinged with sadness because you never got it back in the same way. You hesitate. The old woman tilts her head. "Not all weight comes from pain," she says. "Some comes from love that didn't know where to go after the moment ended." You swallow, the truth of that, settling into your chest like a warm stone. You bring the memory to the water's edge. And once again, the river waits, not demanding, not urging, simply present. As the memory touches the water, it glows in warm tones. Soft golds, rosy pinks, the kind of color palette you only see during sunsets, or in those rare moments when everything in life feels aligned, even if just for a breath. The warmth coming off it surprises you. It feels like placing your hand over a candle that's been burning for hours. Not hot, not dangerous, but deeply warm, in a way that reminds you of something you forgot you needed. The river cradles the memory carefully, as if recognizing its tenderness. The ripples around it soften, their movements slower, more deliberate. This isn't the cleansing of pain. It's the honoring of something cherished. You sit a little closer, drawn in by the glow. The old woman watches with quiet appreciation. Even beautiful memories can become heavy, she says softly. When you miss someone, or when life has moved on, or when you've changed so much that the old joy feels a little out of reach. You nod slowly, your eyes fixed on the warm swirl of emotions. It used to make me so happy, you murmur, and now, sometimes, it makes me sad that it's over. That's natural, she replies. It means it mattered. The river murmurs again, and the warm colors begin to spread outward, mixing with the silver of the water. Instead of washing anything away, the river seems to be redistributing the emotion, taking the sharpness out of the longing, smoothing the ache of nostalgia. You feel a shift inside you, a small exhale you didn't know you were holding, a release that doesn't erase the joy, but lets it shine again, without tugging at your heart so tightly. The memory rises slightly, glowing brighter for a moment, as if thanking you for letting it breathe. Then the river gently sends it back into your hands. You blink again. You're not taking this one either, you say. The old woman smiles. Why would it? She asks. There's nothing to carry away. This one isn't hurting you. It's reminding you. You look down at the memory, still warm, still glowing softly. But it feels lighter, as if the river brushed away the sadness that had settled like dust over its surface, leaving behind the pure, clean joy underneath. You tuck it back into your pack. It glows faintly through the fabric. And for the first time, the pack feels warmer on your lap, not just heavy. You sit back. I thought the river would take more things away, you admit. The old woman shakes her head. People think healing means deleting, she says. But real healing is choosing what to keep, what to soften, and what no longer needs to stay the same size. You let that sink in. The river hums quietly, whispering along the stones. You reach into the pack again. This time, what rises into your hand is something darker, not in a frightening way, but in the way old wounds sit heavy long after they've closed. It's a memory shaped like regret, shaded with what-ifs and I should have known betters. Your throat tightens. The old woman notices. That one has weight, she murmurs. You nod silently. You look down at the memory, turning it slowly in your hands. Every angle reflects a different shade of emotion. Disappointment in yourself, sorrow for what could have been, frustration that you can't go back and do it differently. You brace yourself. But the river whispers gently. Not so tight. Let it breathe first. You loosen your grip, surprised by how much tension was in your fingers. Slowly, you lower the memory toward the water. When it touches the surface, something unusual happens. Instead of glowing gently, the memory shivers, tiny ripples trembling outward, as if the emotions inside it are startled by the sudden exposure. The colors swirl violently for a moment, deep purples, heavy grays, sharp streaks of red. You pull your hands back instinctively, startled. The old woman places a calm hand on your shoulder. Easy, she murmurs. This one is tangled. It's not dangerous. It's just been locked up too long. The memory trembles on the water, refusing to settle. The river responds by shifting, not in fear, but in patience. The surface darkens slightly, like a deeper well opening beneath the memory. The water hums low and steady. The trembling slows. The colors soften. The memory stops fighting itself. You watch, breath held, as the river gently begins to wash the edges. Not aggressively, not quickly, just patiently, as if telling the memory, "You're safe now. You can rest." The memory dims to a calmer tone. Then something surprising happens. Instead of sending the memory back to you, the river pulls it in a little deeper. Not fully, not entirely, just enough. You tense. "Is it taking it?" The old woman shakes her head. "Not taking," she says, "helping carry it. Some regrets aren't meant to be held by one person alone." The river holds the memory partly submerged. You can still see it, but it no longer shakes. It no longer burns. It simply floats, half supported by you, half supported by something wiser and larger. You exhale shakily, and something inside you unravels gently. You sit quietly with the memory resting partly in your hands and partly in the river. Your fingers remain gently curled around the edge of it, not gripping, not forcing, simply touching with the kind of careful honesty you haven't allowed yourself in a long time. The river holds the rest, its surface shimmering softly around the submerged portion. The emotions that once churned now move slowly, like sediment settling in clear water. You feel as though you've opened a window in a dark room, letting in light that had been waiting outside for years. The old woman watches you without interrupting. Her expression isn't one of pity or instruction, just the steady, knowing patience of someone who has seen many travelers place their wounded memories into this water. Finally, she speaks. "That regret has tried to speak to you for a long time," she says gently, "but you were always bracing for it to shout. You never listened for the whisper." You glance down at the memory. "What is it whispering now?" you ask softly. She shrugs, eyes warm. "Only you can hear that. But in my experience, most regrets say something like, 'You did what you knew how to do at the time.' Or sometimes, 'You learned, and that is enough.'" You look again. The memory's colors have changed. The dark purples and heavy grays are now muted, softened around the edges. The red streak that once felt harsh now looks more like a thread of compassion woven through the center. The river slowly nudges the memory back toward you, not fully out of the water, but enough that you can choose. You could pull it back into your pack. You could let the river continue holding it a while longer. You could even dip it deeper, inviting the water to take more of the weight. But for now, you simply rest your hand on it. And that alone feels like healing. The river hums with approval, the vibrations deep and warm. You take a steadying breath. "I didn't expect this to feel so gentle," you say quietly. "I always thought letting go of things meant ripping them out." The old woman chuckles softly. "That's because you've spent much of your life carrying things with clenched fists," she says. "Humans do that. They confuse control with protection. You consider that. It rings painfully true. The memory rests on the surface, peaceful now, almost reflective. You can see glimpses of yourself in it, not the old version, not the hurting version, but the present you. Calm, a little wiser, a little kinder. After a long moment, you lift the memory from the water. It's lighter than before, noticeably so. Not hollow, not erased, just manageable. You place it gently back into the pack, which seems to accept it without strain. The fabric even looks slightly smoother, as if the pack is relieved to be carrying something softened instead of something sharp. You sit back, your palms resting on your thighs. For the first time since arriving at the river, your shoulders feel different, not only relaxed, but aligned, supported by yourself, not pulled down by the past. You look at the old woman. "How long can I stay here?" you ask. "As long as you need," she says simply. "Time moves differently near this river. Not slower, not faster. Just kinder." You almost laugh. "I could use kinder time." "Most people could," she agrees. The river murmurs again, and you feel it like a warmth passing through your chest. It's not a demand, not a tug, just an invitation. And when you look down at your pack, you feel something you haven't felt in a while. Curiosity, not fear, not dread, just curiosity. You reach for the pack again. Your hand moves without hesitation, not because you're rushing, but because you no longer need to brace yourself. When you open the flap, a faint glow rises from within. The memories seem calmer now, less frantic, as if seeing the river has soothed them as well. This time, when your fingers brush against an item, you feel something different, a spark of irritation, annoyance, embarrassment. A memory so small you almost laugh at the idea of giving it your attention. Something someone said once, something that stuck under your skin in a way that seems ridiculous in the daylight, but heavy in the quiet. You pull it out. It's tiny, barely the size of a pebble. A memory you've probably revisited 1,000 times, always with a wince. You hold it up. "This? Really?" you say, half amused, half exasperated. The old woman shrugs. "Small things can carry sharp edges," she says. "Even splinters can fester if ignored." You sigh, shaking your head. "It's embarrassing how much space this has taken up in my mind." She nods. Embarrassment is just awareness wearing a judgment hat. You snort unexpectedly. That's actually accurate. The river murmurs softly, almost sounding amused. You lower the small memory to the water. As soon as it touches the surface, the river responds with a gentle swirl, almost playful. The water swishes lightly, as if teasing the memory out of its grip on you. The emotion dissolves quickly, like sugar melting into warm tea. Within seconds, the memory fades into a soft shimmer and disappears completely beneath the surface. Your eyes widen. "Wait, did it just—" "Yes," the woman says. "Some things are not worth keeping. The river knows when something was only ever meant to be a lesson, not a burden." You blink, then breathe, and your chest feels noticeably, surprisingly freer. You place the pack beside you, lean back on your palms, and let the quiet settle in again. The sky has deepened into twilight, the first small stars appearing in the soft blue above. The river reflects them, turning its surface into a pathway of shifting light. You feel grounded, centered, present, for the first time in a long while. You glance at the old woman. "Is this what everyone feels here?" you ask. She smiles gently. "Not everyone. Only those who allow themselves to stop running." You look out at the river, steady, shimmering, endlessly patient. And for the first time tonight, you feel no urge to run at all. You sit beside the river a while longer, letting the soothing hum of the water ripple through your mind. It's the kind of sound that feels like it's smoothing something inside you, buffing out rough edges you didn't even know were there. A breeze stirs the grass around you, brushing gently at your sleeves, as if the world itself approves of the work you're doing. The old woman shifts slightly on her stone seat. Her movements are slow, deliberate, as if she has learned to treat time as something to savor, not conquer. She doesn't speak right away. She seems to understand that silence is not empty here. Silence is part of the river's language. You find yourself watching the way the water curves around the stones. Each swirl looks like a thought being untangled. Each ripple feels like a feeling being acknowledged. You inhale slowly, letting your breath fall into rhythm with the river's pace. "You're settling in," the woman observes gently. You nod. "I didn't realize how much I needed this," you admit. "I thought I was just tired, but it feels like I've been carrying more than I understood." She smiles knowingly. "Most people do. Our bodies keep the score long before our minds admit it." You let your gaze wander across the surface of the river. The soft, shimmering reflections remind you of quiet moments in your life, the ones you never fully appreciated at the time. A late walk home under streetlights, the warmth of a hand you held long ago, a quiet morning when the world felt still enough to breathe freely. For the first time in a long while, you feel present in your own skin. Your hand drifts to the pack again. You run your fingers over the fabric, feeling the subtle change in its weight. Lighter, warmer, less demanding. "I want to keep going," you say softly, surprising even yourself with the ease of the decision. The old woman gives a small nod, as if she already sensed your readiness. "Then let the river guide you," she says. "Don't rummage. Just reach. What needs attention will come forward." You take a slow breath and slip your hand inside the pack once more. Something rises to your fingertips, not heavy, not sharp, but cold. A memory chilled by neglect. Something you pushed aside, not because it hurt too much, but because you convinced yourself it didn't matter. You bring it out into the open. It's small, pale, barely glowing at all. A moment of disappointment you brushed off at the time. A quiet wound you didn't think you deserved to acknowledge. A time when no one saw how much you were trying. You hold it gently, noticing how numb it feels in your hands. Not painful, just forgotten. The old woman tilts her head. "Ah," she murmurs. "A frozen one." You frown. "Frozen?" She nods. "Not everything burns. Some memories get so little attention that they frost over. They go quiet. They sit in the corners where light doesn't reach, waiting for someone to notice them again." You look down at the memory. It has a faint shimmer, like morning frost on glass. When you touch the surface, a coolness spreads across your palm. "This one isn't crying out," you say slowly. "It's just lonely." The woman smiles softly. "Exactly. Not every burden screams. Some whisper." You lower the memory toward the water. As soon as it touches the surface, the river reacts with a subtle warmth. Not hot, but like the gentle heat from a sunbeam breaking through clouds. The frost begins to melt. Slowly, delicate droplets of emotion slide into the water. Tiny pearls of sadness, moments of feeling overlooked. The quiet ache of wanting someone to understand you without having to explain everything. You watch it thaw, your chest unexpectedly tightening with empathy for your younger self. The old woman watches your expression. "This one is reminding you," she says, "that your feelings mattered, even when no one noticed. That you deserved comfort, even when you told yourself you were fine." You swallow hard. The memory warms in the water until its glow is soft and gentle again. When it rises back to your hand, it no longer feels cold. It feels tender. You place it in the pack, and the pack seems to hum faintly, as if welcoming it home. A deep breath escapes you, slow and steady. The river's voice deepens in tone, an approving resonance. You lean back on your hands, letting the quiet evening rest against your skin like a soft blanket. The stars are spreading across the sky now, their reflections trembling in the water. The world feels both larger and more intimate. You close your eyes briefly, letting the river's peace fill the spaces inside you that were too cramped before. When you open them again, the night feels gentler. You are ready for the next memory. When you reach into the pack again, your fingers brush against something unexpectedly weightless, like the flutter of a page or the soft movement of fabric caught in a breeze. It feels almost hesitant, as though it's unsure whether it should reveal itself. You lift it slowly. It's a memory that feels strange before you even look at it. Not sharp, not heavy, not frozen. More like something unfinished. You turn it over in your hands. The emotions around it are flickering. Hope mixed with uncertainty. Excitement blended with doubt. A moment when you almost did something brave, but didn't. A chapter you never wrote. A path you didn't take. Regret isn't the right word. It's something gentler. A missed possibility. You exhale slowly. I remember this, you murmur. I wanted to change something in my life, but I was scared. The old woman nods knowingly. The river sees many might-have-beens, she says, not to judge them, but to soften them. You bring the memory toward the water. The river glows in anticipation, the surface shimmering with curiosity, as if it enjoys working with these gentle, unfinished things. When the memory touches the water, it tilts, not sinking or floating, but swaying back and forth like a leaf caught between deciding whether to drift or stay. The river hums softly, a tone of encouragement. The memory responds. It opens, not like a wound, but like a flower, unfurling to reveal. Moments you considered taking a risk, words you almost said, dreams you shelved because life felt too crowded, small sparks you didn't recognize as beginnings. You watch with a mix of awe and melancholy. I didn't know it meant this much to me, you say quietly. The old woman smiles. Your heart knew. It saved this for later. Emotions rise from the memory like threads of color. Soft peach, hopeful blue, shy yellow. They swirl into the river, not dissolving, but weaving. The river gently shapes the strands into something new, something warm. A message. You feel it in your chest like a whispered truth. It's not too late to try again. Possibilities don't expire. You're allowed to revisit dreams, even after detours. The realization settles inside you, warm and unexpectedly steady. You blink back the prick of tears, not from sadness, but from something softer. Permission, renewal. The memory lifts from the water and settles into your hands again. But this time, it feels transformed. Instead of regret or longing, it carries something quieter, steadier. Potential. You place it back in the pack. Instead of adding weight, it seems to create space, as though hope takes up less room than fear. You sit back again, feeling your posture shift. A subtle straightening, a quiet reclaiming of the shape you once abandoned. The river flows with a deeper resonance, reflecting a sky full of stars. The colors on the water shimmer, silver, blue, soft lavender. It feels like the night itself is applauding your courage. You turn your head toward the old woman. Is this what healing is supposed to feel like? You ask. She tilts her head, thoughtful. Healing feels different every time, she says. Sometimes it burns, sometimes it chills. But when it feels like this, gentle, spacious, it usually means you stopped fighting yourself. You let that settle in. Stopped fighting yourself. You hadn't realized how much of your life had been shaped by that quiet internal battle. The push and pull of fear versus desire. The constant negotiation between who you are and who you think you're supposed to be. But here, beside the river, those battles feel distant. Like stories told by someone you once knew, but no longer need to be. You look down at your hands. They feel steady, present, yours. You reach toward the pack again, this time When you pull out the next memory, it feels unexpectedly light and surprisingly warm, like laughter. Faint, distant laughter from some earlier chapter of your life. You smile before you even understand why. The memory in your hands is bright, not forcefully, not blindingly, but with the soft, warm glow of something genuinely joyful. It radiates a golden color, almost like a candle in a quiet room. You can feel the warmth through your palms. You turn it gently. It hums faintly, like a small, happy tune that once lived in the background of your life. It's a moment of pure happiness, simple, unforced, the kind you didn't realize you'd been starving for. A day you laughed without thinking. A conversation that made you feel understood. A moment when the world felt wide and inviting. You inhale slowly. I didn't think joy needed healing too, you murmur. The old woman smiles knowingly. It's not the joy that needs healing, she says. It's the belief that you no longer deserve joy. Those words land softly but deeply. You look down at the memory again. The glow pulses, warm and steady. But beneath the joy, there's a faint shadow, something you didn't expect. Loss. Not of the moment itself, but the ache of not having felt that kind of ease in a while. The ache of forgetting how to let yourself be that open, that light. The old woman stands, stretching her back quietly. You notice she moves like someone who has learned every important lesson her bones ever tried to teach her. Joy, she says, stepping closer to the water, is like a fire. If you don't tend it, it dims. But it never goes out. Not really. You follow her to the river's edge and hold the memory just above the surface. It vibrates softly in your hands, as if excited to see the water. When it touches the river, the effect is immediate. Warmth spreads through the ripples, lighting them from within. Soft gold and shimmering peach radiate outward. The river seems delighted. Joy is the emotion it transforms most easily, most eagerly. The memory releases tiny beads of light that dance on the surface like fireflies. They drift around your hands, around the old woman's feet, around the smooth stones lining the bank. You feel the warmth seep into your chest, spreading deep into the spaces where old disappointments once lived. The water gently enhances the joy, not by intensifying it, but by purifying it. It removes the layers of longing and sadness that had gathered around the memory, leaving behind the simple, clean truth of what you felt then. Happiness. Real, uncomplicated happiness. You watch the golden ripples spread across the river, illuminating patches of water like tiny lanterns. The stars above seem to respond, glowing more brightly as if cheering from the sky. The old woman smiles softly. Joy doesn't want to be held tightly, she says. It wants to move, to breathe, to visit you often. You exhale, feeling something in your chest open, like curtains pulled back from a window that had been shuttered for years. You lift the memory from the water. Instead of sadness or longing, it now carries a simple message. This joy belonged to you once. It can belong to you again. You place the memory back into your pack. It glows steadily, illuminating everything around it. The pack feels lighter than ever. You sit back down, letting the quiet night wrap around you. A sense of peaceful fullness settles into your bones. Not excitement, not rush, just calm, gentle possibility. The river flows on, steady and wise. The old woman settles beside you again, folding her hands in her lap. You're doing well, she says. You smile softly. I feel different. You're becoming lighter, she replies. Not emptier, lighter. You close your eyes briefly, letting the word echo inside you. Lighter. When you open them again, the river is waiting, and you're ready for whatever comes next. You take a quiet moment before reaching into your pack again. The night has deepened now, the sky turning into a dark velvet canvas, scattered with stars bright enough to almost cast shadows. The air feels cooler, but the river's glow, soft and ever-shifting, keeps the space between you and the old woman warm. It's the kind of warmth that comes not from temperature, but from presence. You rest your hand atop the pack, letting your fingers feel the softened fabric. You can sense the difference, not just in its physical weight, but in its energy. What was once tense and stuffed with tightly packed emotion now feels more like a container of experiences, each softened by your willingness to face them. When your hand finally slips inside, you touch something unexpected, something large. Not heavy exactly, but deep. The moment your fingertips brush its surface, your breath catches. The emotion inside isn't sharp or painful, but vast, like an entire chapter of your life, condensed into a single pulse. You pull it out slowly. It's massive, almost the size of a folded blanket, and it shimmers with layered colors, deep blues, warm golds, muted greens. It doesn't glow with intensity, but with a steady richness, as if it contains years' worth of feelings, not just one moment. The old woman's eyebrows lift slightly, impressed. "Ah," she murmurs, "a season." You blink. "A what?" She nods. Some memories aren't single events. They're whole seasons of who you used to be. Months or years woven together by the same emotional thread. Joy, growth, transition, loss, or all of them at once. You stare at the memory in your hands, feeling a swirl of sensations rising from it. Some you expected, some you didn't. You recognize flashes inside. A time when life felt uncertain. A time when you were trying to reinvent yourself. A time when you laughed often but alone. A time you thought you were doing okay, but later realized how much you were simply surviving. "It's a lot," you whisper. The old woman nods. Seasons always are. You move slowly to the water's edge, cradling the memory with both hands. It feels warm in some places, cool in others. You get the sense that these contrasting temperatures are telling the story of that time, how it held both comfort and struggle intertwined. When the memory touches the water, the river shifts, not in alarm, not in urgency, but in readiness. The surface deepens, creating room. The glow inside the water grows more layered, matching the complexity of what you're offering. The river's hum becomes richer, as though it's shifting into a lower register to hold something vast. The memory begins to dissolve, not into nothingness, but into strands. Threads of color peel away, drifting like ribbons in the current. Gold for the moments of quiet triumph, blue for the nights you felt lost, green for the growth you weren't aware of, gray for the confusion that tied everything together. You watch in silence as the river gently sorts the strands, not judging them, not discarding them, simply acknowledging each one for what it was. Most people underestimate their seasons, the old woman says softly. They think if they got through something, it must not have been that heavy. But surviving is a weight too. You swallow, your throat tightening unexpectedly. The river continues to separate the threads. Some dissolve fully, fading into the water like ink. Others brighten, rising to the surface. A few remain steady, unchanged, unafraid of being seen. After a time, the strands begin to reassemble, but differently. Instead of a tangled mass, the river weaves them into a new pattern, lighter, more balanced. A tapestry of understanding rather than confusion. When it floats back to your hands, you barely recognize it. Not because it's unfamiliar, but because it finally makes sense. You exhale, as though you've been holding your breath for years. You fold the renewed memory gently and place it back into your pack. It settles in easily, taking far less space than before. And when you sit back, the night feels a shade brighter. The river murmurs in approval. You feel lighter, again, and ready for what comes next. This time, when you reach into the pack, something immediately presses into your palm. Small, sharp. A memory you clearly didn't want to touch. You pull it out reluctantly. It looks like a tiny shard, translucent, trembling around the edges. Unlike the others, this one doesn't glow or pulse. It flickers, as if unsure whether it even wants to exist. You recognize the emotion instantly. Shame. Not the loud kind that comes after big mistakes. The quiet kind. The kind that hides in cracks. The kind that grows from moments when you felt exposed, embarrassed, not enough. You hold it in your hand, and a familiar discomfort spreads through your chest, like the echo of a wince you've repeated thousands of times over the years. The old woman watches you with gentle eyes. "Be kind to this one," she says softly. "Shame is a fragile creature. It only survives when it's ignored." You exhale shakily. "I don't even know why this memory stuck with me," you confess. "It wasn't that dramatic." She smiles knowingly. Shame doesn't care about scale. It attaches itself to whatever is closest. The memory trembles again, like a small, frightened animal. You look down at it, feeling a quiet compassion rise in your chest. The sensation surprises you, because shame is usually met with disgust or avoidance, not tenderness. But here, by this river, everything seems to soften. You lower the memory toward the water. The river reacts immediately, but with extraordinary gentleness. Instead of pulling or unraveling, it forms a small, still pool where the shard can rest without sinking. The water cups around it delicately. The trembling slows. The flickering steadies. The memory seems to breathe. You feel a warm pressure in your chest, like something being acknowledged at last. The old woman's voice is low. Shame only heals when it's seen without judgment. You nod, eyes stinging slightly. The memory doesn't dissolve, not yet. Instead, the river surrounds it with warmth, almost like sunlight breaking through clouds. You watch as the shard begins to soften around the edges. The sharp points dull. The translucent fog becomes clearer. Slowly, the memory reveals what shame had been covering. A vulnerable moment. A younger version of yourself who simply wanted to belong. A simple human need, nothing to be ashamed of. The river sighs softly as if relieved. The shard dissolves completely, sinking into the water like a single drop returning home. You gasp, not in pain, but in release. A tightness you'd carried for years unclenches inside you. The river flows smoothly again. The old woman places a hand briefly on your back, steady and warm. "There," she whispers. "You've freed yourself from something small that had grown too loud." You lean forward, elbows on your knees, letting your breath steady. A sense of clarity rises in you, quiet but powerful. Your shame is gone, not forgotten, not denied, processed, freed. And when you reach for your pack again, your hand doesn't hesitate. When you open the pack this time, you feel something warm brush against your fingertips, like the soft brush of a hand, a gentle welcome. What rises into your palm is not a memory. It's a feeling you haven't let yourself hold for a long time. You lift it to the light. Its shape isn't clear, more like a glow than an object. But its warmth spreads through your fingers and up your arms, settling deep into your chest. It's hope, not bright enough to overwhelm you, not dramatic, not a fire, a small, steady ember. You stare at it, stunned. I didn't know I still had this inside me. The old woman smiles. Every traveler arrives with hope, she says, even if they've forgotten, especially if they've forgotten. You hold the glowing ember between your palms. It flickers gently, like a candle flame shielded from the wind. And unlike the memories you've washed tonight, this feeling doesn't need cleansing. It needs feeding. The river hums warmly the moment the ember touches the surface. Not to take it, not to dissolve it, but to reflect it. The water brightens, shimmering like moonlight scattered across 1,000 tiny ripples. The ember pulses softly in your hands, growing a little stronger, a little warmer. This is yours, the old woman says, but you've kept it buried under heavier things. You forgot it was there. You realize she's right. Hope didn't disappear. It simply got quiet and buried. Now, in this moment, it rises again. The river sends a gentle shimmer up your arms, as if giving your ember a blessing. The warmth in your chest expands, not burning, blooming. You lift the ember from the water. It glows brighter than before, still gentle, but undeniably alive. When you place it into the pack, it settles at the center, illuminating everything around it with soft, golden light. Your pack feels transformed, not empty, never empty, but balanced, softened, healing. You look out over the river again, and your breath catches. The water is glowing more brightly now, reflecting not just the stars, but your own internal shift. The patterns on the surface seem to echo your heartbeat, steady and calm. The old woman studies you quietly. Then she nods. You're beginning to understand, she says. Understand what? You ask softly. That the river doesn't take things away, she replies. It helps you see what you've been carrying, and what you still can. You look down at your pack, lighter, glowing, alive. And for the first time, in a long time, you feel ready. Ready to keep healing. Ready to keep looking inward. Ready to step into the next piece of your story. The river murmurs gently, shimmering beneath the night sky. You take a slow breath, grounding yourself, and reach toward your pack again. Your fingers brush the inside of the pack again, and this time, something presses back. Not urgently, not sharply, but with gentle insistence. You curl your hand around it and lift it into the night air. At first, it looks like a simple memory, faint and quiet. But as it rests in your palms, it begins to unfold, displaying layer after layer, like petals opening in slow motion. It becomes clear this isn't a single event. It's a pattern, a belief, a story you've been telling about yourself for a long time. The colors swirling inside are familiar. Soft blues, muted grays, and a subtle thread of dull silver that seems to run through everything you felt during that time. Self-doubt. Not the loud, catastrophic kind, but the habitual kind that settles into your bones. The type that whispers, maybe not, even before you've decided what you want. The kind that turns opportunities into questions and turns your strengths into quiet disclaimers. You hold it with steady hands, surprised by how much tenderness rises within you for this particular shape of pain. The old woman watches you with a knowing expression. That one stays with people the longest, she says, because self-doubt often pretends to be practicality. You nod slowly. It's been here for years, you admit, voice low. It's been guiding decisions I didn't even realize I was making. She gestures gently toward the river. Let it speak, then let the water answer. You kneel at the riverbank again, lowering the memory toward the shimmering surface. As soon as it touches the water, something remarkable happens. Instead of sinking or glowing or unraveling, the memory echoes. A soft ripple of sound radiates outward, like the quiet thrum of a tuning fork. The river responds, its surface trembling lightly beneath the echo. The memory begins to reveal itself in scenes. Times you held back. Times you let someone else go first, because you doubted you deserved to lead. Times you kept your voice small, because you weren't sure it was worth hearing. Times you believed you needed permission to simply be yourself. The scenes move one after another, slow and steady, like watching the gentle turning of a page. But what surprises you most isn't the sadness in these scenes. It's the innocence, the sincerity. You weren't trying to limit yourself. You were trying to stay safe. The old woman sits beside you, her voice soft. You protected yourself the only way you knew how. The memory pulses again, but this time the river sends a counterpulse, warm, firm, reassuring. The exchange continues. Memory, river, a call and response between your past self and the gentle wisdom of the water. Gradually, the colors inside the memory shift. The dull silver brightens. The gray softens into pale lavender. The blue warms into something almost hopeful. You feel something release in your chest, an old narrative loosening, making room for a truer one. The river lifts the memory upward, offering it back. But it looks different now, cleaner, lighter, infused with subtle gold. You take it with careful hands. The old woman nods. Self-doubt doesn't dissolve, she says. It transforms when you understand its roots. You place the softened belief into your pack. It settles gently, no longer tugging downward, no longer whispering the same old lines. You sit back, breath deeper, spine straighter. The night around you feels slightly warmer, as though the stars themselves approve of the shift happening inside you. You let out a long breath. You're beginning to reclaim the parts of yourself you forgot. When you open the pack again, you feel something swirling at the bottom, a subtle movement, almost a vibration. When your fingers reach it, a current of emotion runs through your hand, not painful, just urgent, alive. You lift it out, and the shape is immediately striking. It's a memory glowing with a strange brightness, sharp in some places, hazy in others. It crackles faintly like static. Inside it, emotions flash in rapid sparks. Frustration, restlessness, longing, something like impatience with yourself. Recognition hits you with a familiar resonance. This is a memory of anger, not the explosive kind that shouts and storms, the quiet kind, the one you swallow, the one that turns inward because you never felt permission to let it out. You turn the memory slowly in your hands. The crackles of emotion jump from one point to another, like tiny lightning bolts flickering inside a glass sphere. You feel the instinctive urge to push it away. The old woman notices and shakes her head gently. Don't fear it, she says. Anger is honest. It's one of the few emotions that never lies. You exhale shakily. It just feels hot. Because it was never expressed, she replies. Heat builds when it has nowhere to go. You kneel at the riverbank again, holding the memory carefully. As soon as it touches the water, steam rises, not harsh or hissing, but in soft tendrils, like mist after rainfall on sun-warmed ground. The river cools the memory, not by crushing the emotion, but by giving it space. You watch as the anger unfurls, no longer trapped in the tight, compact shape it had taken in your pack. It spreads through the water like red ink, then softens into shades of rust, cinnamon, warm amber. It reveals pieces of truth you hadn't fully let yourself acknowledge. Anger at unfairness. Anger at being overlooked. Anger at being silenced. Anger at yourself for trying so hard to be easy. You feel heat rise behind your eyes, not from rage, but from recognition, from finally allowing the truth to surface. The river continues to cool the memory, swirling around it gently, inviting the emotion to stretch out, breathe, release. The old woman's voice is steady. Anger only hurts when it's caged. When you let it flow, it becomes clarity. The memory's crackling edges soften. The lightning inside dims. The warmth transforms into something grounded. Assertiveness, boundaries, strength. When the river offers it back to you, the memory is no longer hot. It is warm, solid. A piece of truth you can hold without burning yourself. You tuck it into your pack, feeling the subtle shift inside you. Something long suppressed now feels acknowledged, integrated, ready to serve instead of harm. You sit up taller. Something in your chest feels clearer. You look at the river and notice it's glowing a faint reddish gold now, reflecting the emotion it just helped you process. It hums lower than before, a grounding, earthy tone. You rest a hand on your pack. You feel stronger. This is changing me, you whisper. It's revealing you, the old woman corrects gently. You close your eyes, letting her words settle into you like roots. The river's glow shifts again as you reach back into the pack. Your hand brushes something delicate, light as air, soft as silk. When you lift it from the fabric, it floats slightly above your palm, refusing to settle completely. It's beautiful. A memory shaped like a wisp of silver cloud, shimmering around the edges. It feels melancholic, but not heavy, more like the sting of something bittersweet. You recognize the emotion instantly. A goodbye. Not the traumatic kind, not the catastrophic kind. A gentle goodbye. A natural ending. Something that faded rather than broke. You swallow, feeling a soft ache bloom in your chest. The old woman watches you with quiet reverence. The gentlest endings are often the hardest to place, she says. They don't tear, they drift. You look down at the memory. Inside the silver wisp, you see flashes. A friendship that quietly loosened. A chapter of your life that naturally closed. A version of you that outgrew something you once loved. A moment when you realized change had come without announcing itself. You bring the memory closer to your heart, without meaning to. There's sadness here, but also peace. This one isn't hurting me, you say softly. She nods. No, but it is still carrying weight. I don't want to erase it, you confess. You won't, she replies. You're simply letting it finish its journey. You lower the memory toward the water. The river shifts, its glow softening to pale blue, as though preparing a gentle resting place. When the memory touches the surface, it doesn't dissolve. It doesn't unravel. It simply spreads, like mist drifting across a lake at dawn. The water carries it outward, its shape expanding into a delicate veil that moves with the current. The sadness within it spreads thinner and thinner until it becomes almost translucent. You watch, breath held, as the memory completes its arc, not disappearing, but settling deeper into the river. A goodbye that has finally found somewhere to rest. A weight that no longer needs to stay suspended inside you. The river carries the last of the silver mist to a quiet eddy beneath a low-hanging willow branch. The water holds it gently, like a whispered prayer being placed on a shelf. The old woman places a hand on your shoulder. Some memories aren't meant to be carried, she says. They are meant to be honored, then released. You feel your throat tighten. You whisper, "Goodbye." The word doesn't break you. It frees you. You sit quietly for a moment, letting the river's calm seep into your ribs. The pack beside you feels lighter still, cleaner, clearer, more spacious. You exhale deeply, and when you lift your head, the stars seem brighter. The old woman nods in approval. "You're learning to let things take their true size," she says. You smile faintly. "For the first time in a long time, I'm beginning to feel like myself." "And there is much more of you yet to meet," she replies. The river flows on, glowing with quiet promise. You reach slowly toward your pack again, ready for whatever rises next. You sit quietly for a moment, letting the night settle around you. The sky has shifted to a deeper indigo, and the stars seem more confident now, as if they've been watching your journey and have decided to shine a little brighter in encouragement. The river glows with its soft, ever-changing colors, reflecting everything you've let go, everything you've softened, and everything you've reclaimed. You rest your palm over the pack, feeling its warmth. It feels different now, not just lighter, but aligned, as if everything inside it has found its proper place. Even the memories you haven't touched yet seem calmer, less chaotic, waiting without urgency. When you slide your hand into the pack again, your fingers immediately grasp something smooth. Smooth but heavy in an emotional way that makes your breath slow. You lift it out carefully. It has the shape of a closed book, a chapter, a period of your life you rarely revisit, not because it hurts too much, but because it feels unfinished. There is a weight to it, but not sharpness. A lingering sense of, what was I supposed to understand from all this? The object glows softly with hues that shift between muted browns and gentle blues. It feels older, wiser than many of the memories you've held so far. The old woman leans forward slightly, recognizing the shape immediately. "Ah," she murmurs, "the unsolved chapter." You trace your fingers along the book's spine. "I always felt like there was something I missed," you admit. "Something I should have learned, or done, or noticed." She shakes her head softly. Not every chapter reveals its meaning right away. Some truths arrive slowly, like dawn. You swallow, feeling the weight of her words settle deep into you. You move toward the riverbank again, kneeling where the soft earth dips down into the shimmering water. When you hold the chapter-shaped memory above the river, the water brightens in recognition. Not eager, ready. You lower the memory. The moment it touches the surface, the book-like shape slowly opens. Not forcefully, not dramatically, but with a quiet inevitability, as if it always wanted to open, but only needed a safe place to do so. The water flows gently across its pages, revealing memories you had nearly forgotten. Moments of confusion that later shaped you. Kindnesses you didn't appreciate until much later. Choices you made on instinct, only to realize their meaning years after. People whose roles in your life were brief but pivotal. The river turns its pages slowly. Each one glows faintly as the water softens the emotions pressed inside. Regret losing its thickness, confusion losing its fog. The old woman sits beside you. "This chapter was never unfinished," she says. "You simply weren't ready to understand it." You watch as the water reveals a final page, one you didn't know existed. A message written not in words but in feeling. You did the best you could with the tools you had, and that was enough. More than enough. Your chest tightens with a bittersweet relief. The book closes gently and rises from the water. When you take it, The weight has changed. Not gone, just balanced. You place the chapter back into your pack. It settles with a quiet thrum, and your heart feels steadier. When your hand enters the pack again, something surprising happens. Instead of your fingers touching a single object, they brush against clusters, small, soft shapes bundled together like tiny feathers or pieces of fabric. You scoop one up. It's a small memory, almost weightless, shimmering in pastel tones, peach, lilac, pale gold. A gentle warmth spreads through your hand. You recognize the emotion before the memory reveals itself. Moments of appreciation. Small ones, quiet ones, the kind you never gave yourself credit for. The old woman smiles as she sees your expression. "Ah," she says, "the unnoticed goodness." You blink. "I didn't know I kept these in here." "Of course you did," she answers. "You just forgot to look at them." The memory expands slightly in your hand, revealing flashes of small kindnesses you gave without thinking. Times you comforted someone quietly. Times you were patient when no one noticed. Times you helped someone carry something emotional without being asked. Times you chose softness even when the world felt harsh. You look down at the glowing pastel memory, and a strange warmth fills your chest. A warmth that feels dangerously close to pride, but a healthy kind. The kind that says, "You've been good." Even when no one saw you, you lower the memory toward the water. The river glows with soft pinks and golds, joyful colors, warm and bright. When the memory touches the surface, the water responds with a gentle swirl, as if delighted to be working with something so pure. The pastel colors brighten, the warmth deepens. The memory feels like a breath of fresh air. The old woman watches with fondness. "You rarely acknowledge the good you bring to others," she says. "It's time you learned to see yourself clearly." The memory glows brighter, rising from the water with new clarity. You hold it for a moment longer, letting the truth sink into your bones. You have been a source of light, more often than you realize, more deeply than you know. You tuck the memory back into your pack, and the entire inside brightens. Even the deeper memories seem illuminated by its glow. You feel a quiet joy bloom inside you. Then, from the pack, 2 more pastel memories float upward, as if eager to be seen. You pick up the next one. Another kindness you'd forgotten. Another moment you gave without asking. Another piece of proof that you've been more gentle, more helpful, more good than you ever recognized. The old woman chuckles softly. "You stored these away, like they were nothing," she says, "but the river knows their worth." You lower this second memory into the water, and the river reacts with the same joyful glow. When it returns to your hand, its brightness has softened into a gentle, golden warmth. You place it into the pack. Then the third one rises. You smile softly before even touching it. This one is particularly bright, almost cheerful. When you hold it, the memory flickers like laughter. You vaguely remember this moment. A time you made someone smile. A time you lifted someone's spirits. A time your presence made a difference, even if you thought nothing of it. You lower it into the water. It glows like morning sunlight. When you return it to the pack, the inside has become a constellation of warm lights. You exhale, feeling lighter, stronger, and strangely grateful. There is goodness in you, documented, witnessed, real. You rest a hand over your heart, feeling its rhythm steady. "I didn't know," you whisper. "But now," the old woman replies softly. "You do." The pack seems to vibrate faintly with energy, warm, soft, alive. When you reach inside this time, your fingers touch something unmistakably familiar, and your breath catches. You lift it out slowly. A memory shaped by grief. You can tell instantly, not because it hurts to touch, but because it holds a depth unmatched by anything you've held so far. It's not sharp or overwhelming. It's quiet, heavy in a way that feels sacred. The object glows in deep hues of indigo and silver, with a soft pulse that feels like a heartbeat, remembering something it loved. You hold it gently, reverently. The old woman watches you with profound softness. Grief, she says, is the river you carry inside yourself. Tonight, you are meeting its reflection. You swallow, throat tight. The memory shifts in your hands, revealing flashes of someone or something you've lost. A person, a season, a version of yourself, a hope that didn't last. Not all grief is about death. Some grief is about endings we didn't choose. You bring it close to your chest without thinking. It still aches, you whisper. Of course it does, she replies. Grief is love, with nowhere to go. You move to the river. The water, sensing the memory's depth, grows still, silent, almost reverent. You lower the grief into the river. The old woman closes her eyes. The river hums, a low, resonant sound that feels like it comes from the earth itself. The water glows with deep blues, soft purples, gentle silvers. The memory releases its emotions slowly, like a long-held breath. Tears, not yours, not the river's, but the memory's, flow gently into the water, dissolving into shimmering light. You feel your own tears rise, not from pain, but from recognition. The river holds the grief tenderly, not erasing it, not transforming it, honoring it. The old woman speaks quietly, as though not wanting to disrupt the sacredness. Grief doesn't leave, she says. It simply learns to sit differently inside you. The memory floats back up, lightened, softened, but still itself. You take it. It no longer aches sharply. It simply lives. With you, not against you. You place it in your pack, and for the first time since you began this journey, the pack glows with a deep, steady light, gold, silver, blue, all intertwined. You exhale. The river glows in response, as if saying, "You're ready for the next part." You sit in silence for a while, letting your breath settle and your heartbeat find a slower, steadier rhythm. The river shimmers with a deep, steady glow, as if it's absorbing the weight of the night, transforming it into calm. The old woman remains beside you, patient, present, never pushing, never pulling, just being. You sense how far you've come already, how much lighter you feel, how much clearer your pack sits beside you, no longer a burden, but a collection of softened truths. When you finally reach into the pack again, your fingers graze something unlike anything you've touched so far. It's warm, warmer than any memory you've held, and it pulses with a rhythm that syncs with your heartbeat. You lift it slowly. The moment it leaves the pack, a gentle golden glow spreads across your hands, lighting up your skin. It feels alive, joy. Not the fleeting moments you softened earlier, not the tiny sparks of kindness you rediscovered, but your inner joy, the deeper, quieter joy that exists beneath everything else. The joy of being yourself. You're surprised by how warm it is, how familiar, how much you've missed it. The old woman watches you with a soft smile. "Ah," she murmurs, "the hidden light." You tilt your head. "Hidden?" She nods thoughtfully. That joy has always been in you, but adulthood has a habit of burying it beneath responsibilities, expectations, and the noise of living. You hold the glowing joy closer, feeling its warmth spread through your chest. The glow mixes with your breath. Your ribs soften. Your shoulders loosen. Your face relaxes into something you haven't felt in a long time. Ease. You kneel at the river again, the joy pulsing with gentle anticipation. When you lower it to the water, the river brightens instantly, as if this memory is a long-lost friend returning home. The water shifts into luminous golds and soft oranges, the colors of sunrise. The joy dips beneath the surface, not dissolving but expanding. The glow radiates outward, illuminating stones beneath the water, branches overhead, even the old woman's gentle smile. "What is it doing?" you whisper. "It's showing you what remains," she answers, "when pain is softened and burdens are loosened." The joy spreads through the water, like warmth spreading through your chest. And slowly, it pulls back into your hands, bigger, brighter, more whole. When you hold it, you feel tears rise, this time without sorrow. You place the renewed joy into your pack. It lights up the entire inside. And inside you, something stirs awake. You rest your fingers on the rim of the pack for a moment before reaching inside again. You feel grounded, steady, almost brave. Not in a loud or forceful way, brave in the quiet, true sense. When your hand moves inside, it touches something unexpectedly heavy, not painful, not sharp, just undeniably real. You lift it carefully. It's shaped like a smooth, heavy stone, rounded, curved, almost warm. Deep earthen colors shift across its surface, browns, greens, muted oranges. It feels real in a way the other memories didn't. "Responsibility," the old woman says softly, before you even ask. You blink in surprise. Responsibility is a memory. A memory, a feeling, a weight, a truth, she explains, something carried by everyone who tries to live well. You study the stone. It's not cold, it's not accusing, it's just solid, the kind of solidity that comes from years of showing up, doing what needed to be done, making choices that others relied on. But within the stone, you sense something else. Exhaustion. Not dramatic exhaustion, not burnout, but the steady, slow drain of carrying things for far too long without setting them down. You exhale softly. "I never thought about putting this in the river." "Most people never do," the woman replies. "They assume responsibility must always be heavy." You kneel again, hesitation flickering in your chest. "I'm afraid, if I let go of it, I'll stop caring." She shakes her head gently. Responsibility is not the burden. The overcarrying of it is. You lower the stone to the water. The river shifts its glow to deep greens and warm browns, the colors of forests and fertile soil. The moment the stone touches the surface, the water thickens slightly, as though preparing to hold real weight. The stone sinks halfway, held by the river like a cupped hand. The water hums, deep and steady. Slowly, the stone begins releasing tiny fragments, small flecks of stress, strain, fatigue, the quiet, unseen effort of years. The fragments drift into the water where they dissolve like sand. The weight in your hands diminishes. But the stone does not disappear, because this is a weight you're meant to carry, just not alone. When the river returns the stone to you, it is lighter, clearer, balanced. You hold it with a sense of newfound respect. "You don't have to carry everything," the old woman says, "only what is truly yours." You place the stone into the pack. It settles without dragging it down. You breathe. For the first time, you feel responsibility without exhaustion. And the night deepens with peaceful recognition. When your hand enters the pack again, something brushes against your fingertips so lightly you almost miss it. You reach deeper, and the shape slips between your fingers like a strand of hair carried by a breeze. You lift it, and it floats in your hand, weightless, faint, nearly invisible. a transparent ribbon of soft blue and pale silver. It feels delicate, vulnerable, trembling, but not in fear, more like a truth finally given the chance to be seen. You stare at it. "What is this?" you whisper. The old woman moves closer. Her eyes soften, more than you've seen so far. "That," she says quietly, "is loneliness." You inhale sharply. Not the dramatic loneliness of empty rooms or lost connections. The subtle kind. The quiet ache you don't talk about. The feeling of being surrounded by people yet carrying something inside yourself that no one fully understands. You hold the ribbon carefully, feeling its soft tremble. It's lighter than silk, but the emotion it holds is vast. The old woman sits beside you. "Loneliness rarely speaks loudly," she murmurs. "It waits, patiently, hoping you will finally look at it." You swallow. The ribbon pulses gently, like a heartbeat too soft to notice until now. "I didn't want to admit I felt this," you confess. "No one does," she says. "But admitting it is not weakness. It is connection." You kneel at the river again, lowering the ribbon-shaped memory toward the shimmering surface. The river glows pale blue, mirroring the ribbon's softness. When the ribbon touches the water, the river becomes incredibly still, like it is listening, honoring the tender truth in your hands. The ribbon dissolves into long, gentle waves of light. They move outward, then inward, then outward again. The old woman explains softly, "Loneliness is not something to get rid of. It is a reminder of your capacity for connection, and your longing for it." The glowing waves drift across the surface until they return to your hands, no longer trembling. They feel steadier, clearer, honest. When you lift the ribbon back from the river, it is still delicate, but no longer afraid. It wraps around your fingers like a small, gentle truth. You place it into your pack. It settles softly, like breath. The river glows faintly with blue and silver, reflecting your quiet truth back to you, without judgment, without shame. You inhale deeply, letting the cool night air fill your lungs. You are not broken for feeling loneliness. You are human. You place your hand on the pack, feeling its balanced warmth. You turn to the old woman. She nods with calm understanding. "There are more truths yet," she says, her voice warm, "and you are ready for them." The river hums softly in agreement, and you reach into the pack once more. Your fingers drift once more into the pack, now warm with the gentle glow of everything you've processed so far. You expect to find another memory, another emotional fragment, something small, or sharp, or deep. But instead, your hand touches something broad and soft, a shape that feels like a folded blanket, warm and familiar. You lift it slowly. It's a memory shaped like comfort. You can tell immediately. Its glow is soft, muted gold, with edges of calming blue. It feels like resting under a warm blanket on a winter morning, like being understood with no words, like safety. But there is something else woven into it, a hesitation, a flicker of doubt beneath the warmth, and you realize, this is comfort you once had, and lost, or outgrew, or stepped away from, without realizing how much it meant at the time. The old woman tilts her head thoughtfully. "Comfort," she says softly, "is the quietest treasure. You don't notice when it arrives, but you feel its absence deeply. You examine the memory. It carries traces of a person with whom you felt safe, a home that made you breathe easier, a routine that gave your mind peace, a moment when everything felt simply okay. Comfort is complicated. Some of it warms, some of it lingers, some of it numbs, and some comfort becomes too small for the person you eventually grow into. You kneel near the river, holding the memory gently. The river brightens into a warm, almost honey-colored glow, as if recognizing an old friend. As soon as the memory touches the water, the surface shifts into soft waves, slow, soothing, rhythmic. The river rocks the memory like a cradle, and you feel the echo of that comfort deep inside your chest. The water reveals layers. Times you sought comfort in people who didn't truly understand you. Times life was chaotic, and comfort was scarce. Times comfort came unexpectedly, in small gestures you didn't notice until later. Times you ignored comfort because you were too busy surviving. The old woman watches silently, letting the river guide you. The memory doesn't dissolve. It doesn't unravel. It expands. It shows you that comfort is not something lost forever. It changes shape. It shifts as you shift. It's not gone, the old woman says quietly. It's waiting for its next form. The memory glows brightly, then returns to your hands, lighter, warmer, carrying no regret. You place it gently into your pack. It settles like soft fabric, filling the space with warmth. For the first time in a long time, you feel at home inside yourself. You sit back as the river hums with a peaceful golden tone, and just as you take a breath, something else begins to stir inside the pack. When your hand enters the pack again, you expect another memory, something emotional or heavy or gentle. But instead, your fingers touch something that moves, not in a frightening way, no sharpness, no urgency, just a quiet, shifting, like a small creature waking from sleep. You lift it carefully. It's not a memory at all. It's possibility. A glowing, flickering shape, like a moth made of silver light. It flutters in your hands with delicate wings that shift between pale gold and soft blue. Every movement sends tiny sparks into the air. You stare in awe. What is this? The old woman smiles, a real smile, warm and wide. Ah, you've reached the hidden part. You raise the shimmering creature closer to your face. It flutters again, but not fearfully, more like it recognizes you. This is the part of you, she explains, that never stops looking forward, even on the hardest days, even when you think you've stopped dreaming. Possibility lands on your palm and glows brighter, as if acknowledging its name. You feel something inside you shift, your chest expanding, your mind opening, a faint sense of excitement rising inside your ribs. I didn't know I still had this, you whisper. Of course you did, she answers. Possibility never leaves. It only gets quiet when you're carrying too much. You kneel near the river again. The moment possibility hovers over the water. The river shifts into soft, shimmering patterns, ripples forming shapes you almost recognize, paths you haven't taken yet, ideas you haven't explored, dreams you thought were too late, lives you haven't tried on. Possibility dips toward the water. The river gently lifts it with a cushion of light, illuminating it from below. Wings of silver and gold stretch wider, brighter, more confident. This, the old woman says softly, is the part of yourself that opens doors. You breathe slowly, watching possibility shimmer with renewed energy. It returns to your hands, not changed, not healed, activated. You place it gently into the pack, where it flutters once before settling. The pack glows lightly from the inside, as if possibility has illuminated everything it touches. You feel something in your chest you haven't felt in a long time. Anticipation. The river hums with silver and gold. And then, from the pack, something begins to pulse. Slowly, deeply, steadily, like a heartbeat. Your hand reaches into the pack again, drawn instinctively toward that steady pulse. The moment your fingers touch it, a warmth spreads up your arm. Not sharp, not intense. Steady, strong, honest. You lift it into the light. It's unlike anything you've held so far. This memory, no, this truth, is shaped like a heartstone. Smooth, warm, glowing from deep within. Not with brilliance, but with solidity, confidence, presence. The stone glows in rich amber and deep red, flecked with gold. You know what this is before the old woman even speaks. Your resilience, she says. You swallow. But this resilience isn't the kind you celebrated with exhaustion. Not the keep going no matter what resilience. Not the hold everything together even when you're falling apart resilience. This is deeper, truer. The resilience of still being here, of trying again, of healing, of surviving not just events, but yourself. You lift the heartstone closer. Its glow deepens as if recognizing your attention. You feel emotion rise, a deep, quiet pride, the kind that doesn't boast, but acknowledges. I don't think I've ever looked at this properly, you say softly. The old woman nods. Most people mistake resilience for endurance, but resilience is not about suffering longer. It's about returning to yourself. You kneel at the riverbank again, holding the stone. The river glows deep amber, reflecting the stone's strength. As soon as the heartstone touches the water, the entire river hums, a deep, resonant vibration that passes through your bones. The water seems to honor the stone, recognizing its truth. You feel waves of understanding flow through you. You have been strong, not because you pushed through everything, but because you kept returning to kindness, to softness, to hope, to yourself. The river lifts the heartstone gently back into your hands, brighter now, steady and warm. You place it into your pack. The pack glows brighter than ever, illuminated by the interplay of resilience, possibility, joy, and all the softened memories. You sit back, letting a long breath out. The night feels alive. The river feels like a pulse. The old woman watches with quiet approval. You've come far, she says gently. You nod. And you're ready, she adds. For what? You ask softly. She smiles, serene and certain. For the part where you meet who you are becoming. The river glows brighter, and with calm anticipation, you reach into the pack again. When your hand enters the pack this time, you don't feel weight or warmth or softness. Instead, you feel something that makes your breath pause, not out of fear, but out of recognition. A subtle, electric sensation, like touching a thread connected to something vast. Your fingers wrap around it instinctively, and you lift it from the pack. It's not a memory. It's not an emotion. It's not a story from your past. It's identity. A shimmering, shifting shape, constantly changing its edges, never settling fully into one form. It glows with every color you've seen in the river tonight. Indigo from grief, gold from joy, silver from possibility, warm amber from resilience, soft pink from kindness, pale blues from loneliness, greens from calm. You hold it carefully, feeling its pulse echo through your hand, up your arm, into your chest. The old woman's eyes soften with reverence when she sees what you've lifted. Ah, she whispers, most travelers reach this only once. You stare at the shape in your hands. It feels like holding a reflection of your soul, not frozen, not defined, but alive, constantly shifting, learning, shedding, growing. This is me, you ask. She nods. This is who you are becoming, the self that forms when you stop defining yourself by pain, or mistakes, or incomplete stories. The identity in your hands shifts again, stretching into long, graceful shapes, then collapsing into small, bright ones, then expanding into something fluid and luminous. Every transformation feels right, as though each form is telling the truth from a different angle. You kneel at the riverbank, unsure what to do. Will the river change it? You ask. No, she says softly. The river will reveal it. You lower the shimmering identity toward the water. The river does not glow this time. It does not hum. It becomes perfectly still, like a mirror waiting. The identity touches the surface, and suddenly the river reflects not your face, but your truths, your softness, your strength, your boundaries, your hopes, your fears, your humor, your compassion, your resilience, your longing, your love. The sight overwhelms you, not painfully, but deeply. You're not looking at your history or your wounds. You're looking at the quiet, expanding core of who you really are. The old woman speaks softly beside you. You are not just what you've survived, she says. You are what you are growing into. The identity glows brighter, brighter, and brighter still, until the light spreads across the water, across the bank, across your hands. When you lift it back from the river, it feels grounded, clear, strong, still shifting, but with direction, like a compass guided by your own inner truth. You place it in the pack. Your pack glows with every color of your life, and you feel, for the first time tonight, a deep sense of arrival. As the glow from your pack settles into a calm, steady radiance, you rest your hands on your knees and let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. The night feels different now, heavier in silence, but lighter in spirit. The old woman watches you with a gentle expression that holds both pride and peace. You reach into the pack again, curious about what remains. Your fingers find something surprisingly cool, not cold, but crisp, like morning air or the surface of a still pond. It feels clean, clear, pure. You lift it slowly. It's shaped like a drop of water, perfectly smooth, perfectly transparent. Soft light dances inside it, like a glimmer caught in a raindrop. What is this? You ask, mesmerized. The old woman tilts her head, her voice calm. That is clarity. You blink. Clarity from what? From everything you've seen, she says. Everything you've faced tonight has washed away noise, confusion, old interpretations. This is what remains. The droplet feels almost weightless, yet powerful in its simplicity. It hums softly, resonating with the same frequency as your breath. You kneel at the water again. But as the droplet touches the river, nothing dissolves, nothing glows, nothing breaks apart. Instead, the river becomes clearer, crystal clear. You can see the stones beneath it, smooth and ancient. You can see the riverbed curve gently beneath the surface. You can see the tiny currents that previously hid beneath shimmer and shadow. You see everything. Yet nothing feels overwhelming. Nothing feels too much. Nothing asks for your fear. Clarity settles over your mind like a cool cloth. Certain choices you've questioned suddenly make sense. Mistakes you punished yourself for no longer feel damning. Paths you abandoned no longer feel like failures. Desires you silenced begin to speak. And the future, once foggy, begins to open like a slow-moving sunrise. You exhale a trembling breath. Tears gather, not of sadness, but of release. The old woman places a gentle hand on your shoulder. You see, she murmurs, clarity doesn't give answers. It gives truth. You lift the droplet from the water. It glows brightly, steady and pure. When you place it gentle into your pack, it becomes a small light that sits at the center, quiet but powerful, like a lantern illuminating everything around it. You feel something profound shift inside you. Your mind feels sharper without being tense. Your breath feels deeper without being forced. Your heart feels open without being vulnerable. You sit back as the river reflects the star-filled sky. You feel ready, ready for whatever rises next from the depths of who you are. And then, from the pack, something begins to warm beneath your fingertips. Not bright, not heavy, but impossibly familiar. You reach into the pack again, drawn by the subtle warmth radiating from deep within. When your hand finds the shape, you pause, because before you lift it, you already know what it is. Your heart knew, your breath knew, your bones knew. You lift it slowly into the starlight. It's shaped like a small ember, soft, glowing gently in hues of soft crimson and gold. It pulses steadily like a quiet heartbeat. The moment you see it, emotion rushes through you, warm and overwhelming. This, the old woman says softly, is your desire to live. Not to survive, not to endure, not to push through, to live, to feel, to grow, to hope, to taste, to explore, to rest, to experience the world with curiosity instead of caution. It's the most intimate truth you have touched tonight. You swallow past the sudden tightness in your throat. I thought I lost this, you whisper. The old woman smiles with a softness that feels older than time. You didn't lose it, she says. You protected it. You buried it under responsibilities, expectations, disappointments, and fears. You hid it so deeply that even you forgot where it was. The ember warms in your palm, like a promise rekindled. You kneel at the water's edge again, carefully lowering the ember toward the shimmering surface. As it touches the water, the river shifts into radiant gold and soft crimson, sunset and sunrise woven together. The ember glows so brightly you have to close your eyes. The river hums in a tone that vibrates through your spine, through your chest, through every part of you that had grown numb or quiet or tired. The ember pulses once, strong enough to send ripples across the surface, then again, stronger, clearer, and again, slow, steady, alive. The old woman's voice is a whisper of wind. You are allowed to want things, she says. You are allowed to begin again. The ember rises from the water and returns to your hand. But now it burns gently, not with fire, but with purpose. You hold it for a long moment, feeling its warmth seep through your palms and into your chest. Then you place it inside your pack. It settles beside possibility, beside joy, beside resilience, beside grief, beside clarity, beside every softened truth. The pack glows brighter than ever, almost too bright to look at. And when you sit back, your entire being feels aligned, like something deep inside you has finally unlocked. The old woman stands slowly, her joints creaking softly in the quiet night. She looks at you with an expression so warm, so steady, that you feel something inside your ribs loosen once more. You are ready, she says gently. For what? You ask, your voice quiet. She smiles. To return home, but not as who you were, as who you are now. The river glows brighter, reflecting your reborn truth, and the night waits gently for you to decide your next step. The river grows quiet again, so quiet that the soft rustle of night wind through the grass becomes the loudest sound around you. The old woman stands calmly at the water's edge, her silhouette framed by the starlit glow, reflecting off the shimmering surface. You rise slowly, feeling the soft earth beneath your feet, the coolness of the night air brushing against your skin. Your pack glows gently at your side, not glaring or radiant now, but warm, steady, like a lantern meant to guide you through the last steps of this journey. You look at the old woman, unsure of what comes next. She studies you with kind eyes, her voice soft but unwavering. You've done the work of many nights, she says. But now, there's one last thing to understand. You wait. She gestures to the river. This place, it is not an escape. It is a mirror. Whatever clarity you found here, whatever you softened, whatever you reclaimed, was always inside you. The river just showed you. You look down at the water. Its shimmering surface reflects the sky, the stars, the faint glow of your pack, and you. Not the tired traveler who arrived, not the burdened soul carrying a lifetime of unprocessed memories. A new version of you, calmer, clearer, whole. The old woman walks slowly to your side. There is a moment in every traveler's journey when the river asks a question. It doesn't speak it aloud, but you will feel it. You inhale gently. What question? She smiles. Are you ready to live lightly? The words ripple through your chest, not lightly in the sense of carelessness, but lightly in the sense of being unburdened, of moving freely with compassion for yourself and others, without carrying weights that don't belong to you anymore. You feel the question settle into your ribs like a soft thrum. The river glows brighter. The old woman nods toward the water. Go on. You kneel at the riverbank once more, not to wash a memory, not to release a burden, not to witness a revelation, but simply to touch the water. Your fingertips brush the surface. Warmth spreads instantly, not from the river, but from your chest. A sense of belonging, of clarity, of possibility. You feel connected to the water, to the sky, to your past, to your becoming. The river hums, soft and low, echoing inside your heart. You rise again. The old woman steps closer, her presence grounding and peaceful. When you leave this place, she says, the world will feel different, not because it changed, but because you did. You look at your pack. It glows softly, no longer heavy, no longer chaotic. You can sense the balance inside, the softened grief, the clarified chapters, the rekindled hope, the renewed identity, the steady resilience. It feels like carrying light. Your light. You lift the strap over your shoulder. It settles comfortably, no pull, no strain. Just support. The old woman smiles. Good. You're ready. You take a step away from the river. The night path stretches gently before you, calm and safe. You feel the earth beneath your feet, steady and welcoming. As you turn back one last time, the old woman raises her hand in a quiet farewell. Remember, she says, the river flows in you now. Whenever yesterday feels too heavy, you know where to come. You nod, a soft smile forming without effort. Then you walk. Slowly at first, then with growing confidence. The night wraps around you like a soft blanket, and a gentle warmth spreads through your chest. You feel lighter. You feel present. You feel quietly, deeply alive. And as the path carries you forward, the soft glow of your pack illuminates the way. A steady reminder that you've washed yesterday clean, and tomorrow no longer feels like a burden. Just an open door. Your steps become slower, softer. The night air grows warmer around you, the path leveling out beneath your feet. You feel the last of the river's hum lingering in your chest, a peaceful echo, gentle enough to lull you toward rest. You breathe in deeply, letting your shoulders loosen, your body soften into the comfort of stillness. The glow from your pack fades into a calm warmth, settling like a small ember against your side. Everything inside feels balanced now. Light, quiet. Your journey back from the river becomes hazy, dreamlike. Each step blends into the next, the night growing softer, quieter, more distant, as if encouraging you to drift out of the story and into your own resting place. Some part of you knows you'll carry the river's clarity with you, in your breath, in your thoughts, in the gentle way you'll speak to yourself from now on. And as the world around you dims into a soothing blur, You hear the calm voice of the narrator once more, wrapping everything in a final blanket of comfort. Thank you for listening to Mindtales Sleep Stories. If you enjoyed this story, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who needs a peaceful night. The night settles. Your breath deepens. Sleep approaches with quiet footsteps, and you drift into rest.